and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm your host, Talor Whitaker. Today we'll discuss a broad range of topics from the 2019 Indiana legislative session, and joining me right now with her take is Representative Lisa Beck. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Well, you are a fresh face. This is the first time you've been on our program, and the first time you're the first term that you've been in these hallowed halls of the State House, and you're making history already. The House Democratic Caucus is now predominantly made up of women.
Yes.
How does that make you feel being a part of that history?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 17 of us.
17 of 33. That's pretty fantastic. And that kind of jives at the federal level too. The amount of women getting into public office, into public servancy is pretty extraordinary.
It is.
Great representation of the total population as a whole, if I may say, as well. But alas, we've got other things to talk about, legislation on the table. In your district, you're a champion, you campaigned for workers, and now you're on the Labor and Pensions Committee. How has that affected the legislation that you approach here at the State House?
I think most of what we've worked on, we have done some good legislation. We had a worker comp benefit, or the death benefits for worker comp was increased, which it had been increased for a long time, so that was really good.
Since like the 90s, right?
Right.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that was really good.
Awesome.
There's,
and then, yeah, tell me more about workers' rights and getting the right people in the right positions, being safe, and not cheating people out of their money.
Right. So the misclassification issue is really important to labor. And so we're working on that. We've been kind of hitting it from several different places. There's a bill right now that we're trying to get passed that would allow for a study to be done on misclassification. Misclassification is basically payroll fraud. And payroll fraud affects a community as well as the state, because it's an employer, an unscrupulous employer that comes here, underbids a contract, and then pays their employees with a 1099, sometimes even cash. And we've heard horrible stories where employees show up and it's on payday and they just don't get paid at all. Really? And they're too afraid to, they're non-union, and they're too afraid to say anything because they want to make sure that that they have a job, or that they don't get. They think they're going to get in trouble.
Right.
So, but the other part of it that's really important is not only are they not paying the state and local taxes, unemployment, workers' comp, but a lot of times they are they're not careful when it comes to safety because they don't train safety. They don't care about it. And we just had recently in Northwest Indiana a business was fined quite a bit of money because of safety problems. And I'm sure looking further into this, we would probably find that it was a misclassification issue as well. So.
Yeah, that's dangerous. I mean, I get it's terrible enough to swindle people out of their money, but then to disregard safety in general. So they're there getting stiffed out of their money, but then they're also in a bad position. I mean, so I don't like that. I appreciate your advocacy for that. We look forward to seeing more of that coming out of the State House, and more of you as well, because I imagine this has been a kind of drinking from a fire hose type of situation for you, right? As your first term, there's a lot to take in, regardless of what you're working on legislative-wise.
Absolutely. I think coming in and seeing the budget year is the first thing that we work on as a new legislators is really difficult, because a lot of the bills that are being presented, we're finding that there were study sessions, or they had been working on them. Maybe this is the third time that they've presented a bill, and I'm seeing it for the first time. So there is a lot of getting up to speed on what actually, knowing the history behind a bill is really important. So do you think as a freshman there's a little bit more listening that you have to do? Oh, absolutely.
Than kind of pushing policy?
Absolutely. And really finding people to trust that help you. Not that they're trustworthy people, but there's really getting those connections and meeting people that can help me.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you around the State House.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here from the Indiana State House. This is Comcast Newsmakers. I'm your host, Talor Whitaker. Thanks for watching.